Hi everyone, my name is Jimmy Smith and welcome to episode number 77 of the Rambler Podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. Today we are happy to have Dan Longnecker on as a guest. As a proud graduate of Cathedral Prep's class of 2001, Dan Longnecker returns to his alma mater today with us, not on the ice where he battled for 4 years in the Ramblers hockey program, but to share his journey with us here on the Rambler Podcast. Before the halls of Prep, Dan began his Catholic education at Our Lady of Peace. After graduating from Prep, where he experienced the highs and heartbreaking lows of back-to-back Penguins Cup Finals appearances, he continued his academic and hockey career at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Dan's professional path took a turn after college when he entered the telecommunications industry. He honed in his skills for 8 years with a small company before moving into the corporate world, spending nearly a decade with a large bank corp. However, feeling the pull for more direct impact and driven by his own vision for customer service and tailored solutions, Dan made the leap to entrepreneurship. In April of 2021, he founded Longnecker DataCom. As founder and president, Dan has built Longnecker DataCom into a thriving telecommunications, network infrastructure, and surveillance/cybersecurity firm. With over 20 years of experience in telecom and cybersecurity, he specializes in providing expert solutions in phone systems, cabling, and surveillance, helping businesses stay connected, secure, and efficient. His passion for innovation ensures clients receive cutting-edge technology and reliable support. Beyond his work, Dan is an avid outdoorsman who enjoys golf, hunting, and fishing. He also cherishes time spent with his black lab, Maverick, and Dan's journey from a competitive Rambler athlete to a successful business owner is a testament to perseverance, a drive for excellence, and the impact of seizing opportunities. Longnecker DataCom is now entering its 5th year, continuing to grow and partner with businesses. So we're thrilled to have you, Dan. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Jimmy. Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Let's do a couple episodes and excited to be back at the alma mater here.
It was pretty neat when you were walking in. We were talking about, my office is here in the old headmaster's house, and this is where Father J-Bo lived, and the priests who were headmasters prior to him, and just the rich history of prep and the tradition. And it's neat to be connected with people like yourselves where you and I weren't classmates. We didn't really know each other, but we can share similar teachers we had here, headmaster that we both had. Yeah. So things like that are always pretty cool. Makes prep special.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually never was in, I don't think so, Father J-Bo's building here, which is a beautiful building. It reminds me of my grandfather's just down 10th Street here. But I remember lasering back in the day, sneaking down and hoping he didn't take the demerit slip and actually log it into the system. Let me slide on a few here and there.
That's right. Yeah, fingers crossed he lets this one go a little bit.
Yeah, save a couple detentions. So.
Well, I joke with people when they say they have not been in this house that Father J-Bo has told me that they used to hold a lot of disciplinary meetings in here with the kids. So I usually tell people like yourselves, that's a good thing you weren't in here because it probably wouldn't have been for a good reason with the disciplinary committee or board that they had at the time. So
yeah, no, that wouldn't have been a fun couple of years trying to squeeze out of that one.
Speaking of prep, in your bio, it talks about you being a part of the hockey team. And I know you probably were keeping tabs on the hockey team from this year. They made a pretty good run, would you say?
Yeah, it was actually pretty awesome. I do some work with Justin Cortor, and his son plays on the team. So it's kind of cool now that we're older to have some connections on the team. And when they won, it was really cool. I wish back in the day our games were on TV. But we were able to watch, I think it was the game before, it was the Penguin Cup final, watched them win, and then actually, because it was on this side of the state, went down and got to cheer them on.
Oh, cool.
Fell a little short, but we fell short a lot of times before that game. So yeah, it was awesome to watch them.
It's cool. That's what makes it special is that, that brotherhood that we share at Prep, to be able to, all these years later, you still go back and support those kids out there, supporting the Ramblers, cheering them on. Like you said, heartbreaking loss, but it was great that you were there to support them and be a part of that network, that community.
Yeah, actually, I even love the football shirts from 16, 17, 18, the three-peat.
Yeah.
I had to go to the store and get one of those because it was just a cool T-shirt with the 3 rings on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're always thinking back to our days here at Prep.
Yeah.
The old, as the older we get, we just live in our high school days.
That's right. Yeah, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. So, for you, when you think back to, it mentioned you went to OLP, to a grade school. Was there any question for you that you'd be at prep, or was there a little bit of a decision at that time?
I think a little bit. I used to give my dad a hard time about it because we kind of lived next to McDowell. But even at second grade, I started wrestling for Team Erie. So I was practicing underneath this auditorium, in front of us over there, down in that 90-degree wrestling room from 2nd through 8th grade. And then in 7th grade, I started playing on the freshman hockey team. So by the time I was 7th, 8th grade playing full-time for prep, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And every single male in my family, on both sides of my family, the Sullivan and Longnecker side, all went to prep that were in this area.
Oh, that's so cool.
Writing was on the wall.
Yep.
But it's something steep in, history,
Yeah, that legacy piece.
Yes,
legacy. That word has been such a crucial word for our school. Our magazine that we do twice a year is called Legacy. Our large fundraiser every year is called Legacy Gala. I think prep, just the tradition of excellence, and legacy just kind of encapsulates, as you were saying, that neat perspective for you to see both sides of your family in terms of the males, going to prep is pretty neat. From when you walk the halls at prep as a student, outside of hockey, we'll talk about hockey next, but what are some of your favorite, memories that really stick out to you from your time as prep as a student at prep, I should say?
I look more back on prep as not a lot of individual things, but more of the camaraderie and brotherhood, kind of pulling off that legacy you were talking about. It was more of just a school. You developed lifelong friends. You felt like you belonged somewhere, through your friends, through your faith, especially through the sports programs, because that's all I cared about was hockey.
Yeah.
I was kind of fortunate enough to grow up in athletics and all sorts of different sports. So kind of coming to prep felt like an extension of that, where you're just picking up the banter from the locker room. Now, I went to prep before there were girls, so there literally was nobody to impress. It was literally like you were in the locker room from the night before just carrying over the banter the next day. And it definitely was a great time. And that's a lot of what I take in is just the brotherhood and the relationships that you build. I actually remember listening to your podcast here with Eddie Hinkle.
Yeah.
And he was talking about John Gannon chasing the bus on his bicycle in the snow all the way down to 79. And our hockey team was out here because we were fortunate enough to be local at that time, so we could chase the bus with them. And we were playing a tournament in Pittsburgh. It was either the year before or the year after, and football team was in the quarterfinals, and we were half dressed, about to play a hockey game, all into the cafe of the ice rink, just roll Ramblers, just being obnoxious and cheering on the team. So that's what I like about prep, is like you were saying, the legacy, the brotherhood, and you can talk to somebody 30, 40 years older than you and they get the same feelings about here as we do.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's some of the things that I've always cherished about the school as well. It's, you meet somebody for the first time, you find out they went to prep, you went to prep. You have an hour-long conversation right there about the teachers you had, the sports teams you were a part of, all the connections that you share. It's a lot of fun.
My good friend that I lived with in college for a while, he was a goalie of our hockey team. He's from outside of Philly. He was changing jobs when Dad's Pet Care got bought off. He's in corporate marketing, and a company from California reached out, and they were like, "Oh, Erie, prep?" He's like, "Oh yeah, my friend went to prep, Longnecker." He's like, "Oh, do you know Nick Longnecker?" Well, he happened to graduate with my brother.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like the guy that graduated with my brother from prep runs a dog food company out in California.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just like you said, it's a small world, the prep world. So
yeah.
It's cool to see how big it grows.
Yeah. And it's when we share those, even closer ties where, those kids that have been a part of the hockey team that you went and saw, you kind of carry even stronger bonds with, kids like that or other alumni who were hockey team players, because you connect with those because you lived those locker rooms and you shared the ice with them or in one way or another. But you've mentioned a few times about hockey. Can you tell us more about your time as a hockey player at prep and how you got into that sport maybe and what that was like for you while your time at the school?
I was big wrestling and football. I thought football at prep was just going to be the way it goes. My brother started hockey at a young age, but I was a wrestler. And it started, I think, roller hockey. I started playing roller hockey and just developed a love for it. So I didn't even put ice skates on and play hockey until 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I just, by the blessing of God, happened to be pretty good at it and took off. And in 7th grade, I made a AAA team out of Cleveland, playing in the Michigan National League. So between the 60 games for prep and 60 games for a Cleveland team, my life was literally hockey and on the road. But playing for prep, you would play against all of the top schools in the country, like St. Ed's, St. Ignatius, or Nichols Academy, and we had a lot of good seasons where we'd be 55-5 or 52-8, or lose 10 games or 12 games because we'd roll teams. But we had a lot of heartbreak in the playoffs, and particularly in the Penguin Cup. We lost 3 years in a row, Thomas Jefferson, then back-to-back against Bethel Park. So having such good seasons and solid teams and never even tying McDowell, just wiping the floors with him for 5 years since 8th grade was just great. But I think learning how to take defeat and grow with the guys, and not everything in life is always going to be perfect. So facing tough competition, learning how to handle those losses, learning how to lose gracefully, teaches us a level of resilience that's paid off in my life. So you learn that life isn't easy wins. They're often a series of challenges with just a few wins sprinkled in, and prep hockey definitely prepared me for that.
That's amazing. No, I think that encapsulates so much of what it means to be, a man of prep. Is it's not just all victories, all hurrahs, all straight A's in academics. I mean, we're going to have our moments that, we stumble, but it's looking next to the brother next to you to help pick you up. It's your coaches, the teachers, those around you to teach you how to take defeat head on and be able to overcome that to succeed for the next. That's why it's a standard of excellence.
Yes.
It's something that we chase, right? Is that standard of excellence, that quality that we want to produce in the classroom, with our friends, as learning how to be a family man, one day, with the faith component, and then athletics, of course, too. So you kind of answered that a little bit with my next question I had for you was about how did prep help prepare you for your career in life? Is there anything else you want to add to that idea of what prep did for you in terms of
I was more the athlete, so I wasn't a fan of schoolwork, and I used to fight schoolwork all the time. But again, it's having to get through things in life, do things you don't particularly enjoy, and, it teaches you perseverance. Life in a career is full of things that you won't love, but, prep taught you how to push through it, work with the guys, keep moving forward. Sometimes awkward teenagers trying to get through those weird years, but having people that you trust and you can build on, build your communication skills, learning how to interact efficiently with different teachers, people of different ages than you at a young age, and a wide variety of different students, social ones not social, but being able to get along with everybody. It prepares you for dealing with all the different personalities and situations in the real world. And we don't love it when we're young, the faith foundation, but just continuing from Our Lady of Peace to prep, it's there. Yep. We might not notice it, we might not want it, but it's there, and it helped build that foundation that you can always lean back on.
Yeah, and foundation is such a great word too to be able to say, because you're right, when you're 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, hearing all these different things about faith and life and deeper things of that nature, it's kind of almost in one ear out the other. Yes, we value it, and I'm not trying to say we don't appreciate what that means.
Correct.
But it's sometimes later in life that you start to realize, wow, I'm really lucky that I went to prep and I had those years of getting this foundation built. So now all these years later, I can lean on my faith that I had from the very beginning, but now I appreciate it at a different level.
Yeah, you don't appreciate it then, but you're thankful that it did happen.
Yes.
It definitely comes back around, and it provides an anchor in your life.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, that was fun going down memory lane with you a little bit to talk about prep. I'm excited to talk to you about kind of this next segment of the podcast, though, about what you've been able to accomplish in your career. It was really great to have a chance to read your bio. I feel like I've seen your vehicle drive around town too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Dan Longnecker DataCom vehicle. Is there a couple different service cars? Is that your car?
So we have a couple. We got a couple service vehicles, and those are the ones all logoed out. The technicians will drive them around. I drive the black one around.
Nice.
But we actually just grew into new office, so we're over on East 10th Street. So yeah, I will drive by here a lot, heading
Yeah.
from the west side to the east side. My grandfather, who went to prep, Raymond Sullivan, started Sullivan Supply Company back in 1967. And in the 80s, he grew and built a bigger office in the back of the building and expanded to back there. And however many years later, I happened to be leasing out the original office that my grandfather started Sullivan Supply in, and now it's Longnecker DataCom. So
how cool is
prep
that?
connections, family connections, but yeah, so I'd be buzzing by here all the time.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Watching this whole building change from when I came here.
Yeah, seriously. Yep. Well, now that I've said that, people who are listening to the podcast will probably start seeing your vehicle around more, because I see it all the time. You're right, because they're on right across 10th Street here.
Once you see the giraffe, you always will remember it.
Yeah. On a lighter note, what can you tell us about the giraffe? Where'd that come from?
So just to play off the last name, my other grandfather, Longnecker, he went to prep as well, same class. He actually had a house that was very nice, like this mansion on the middle, a couple blocks down. I remember as I was growing up, he used to have everything embroidered with like his golf bag with his initials, and my grandmother was a little vain with how she kept things around the house, and she always had little giraffes on the memorabilia and stuff like that. So when I started the company, I kind of was like, oh, thinking in a Google world, and giraffe, Google it, it'll come up, and it kind of sticks with you. So yeah, just to play off the last name.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense as you say it that way, but it was pretty neat. You know, it just ties in really nicely. Yeah. So you spent quite a while in the corporate world. You know, I think it would probably been easy to just kind of just set your path there. I'm sure you would have continued to do well and advance your career, but as we kind of read off, you had a vision of starting your own business. Can you talk to us about that? What made you decide to take that jump to starting your own enterprise?
I honestly thought corporate job was where I'd stay until retirement, because I started at a small company and worked my way for almost a decade, and then got a job with a big Fortune 500 bank corp and was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I finally made it. I lost my father. He was 50 at a young age, so I was very excited that my dad would be so proud of me. You know, all the mess ups at a young age, I finally made it. And then over time, you realize that it was more of a stepping stone. You know, you start getting run down with all the travel. You start to see that your knowledge and expertise, particularly understanding my technical aspects of networking and communication, I didn't feel I was being fully utilized or valued. I reached a point where I thought I plateaued, and I was like, okay, this is a good life, but is this it?
Yeah.
Or should I take a midlife crisis, roll the dice and see how well I could do, or is this it? So I decided to strive for more. I wanted the opportunity to provide clients with the level of service and expertise that I knew I could offer without the limitations of working for somebody else, taking the chance to build something on my own based on my vision and my thoughts of customer service.
Yeah.
It was the clear next step to me.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, you had become, so good at what you're doing that potential, you just felt that urge, it just wasn't being met, right? You just felt like you had to do something.
For something more, to be, instead of just a number in a corporate building, which I'm not talking down to that to anybody. That is a great, I just thought that there was more if I want to, build veteran home communities with tunnel to towers and help prep grow and all sorts of things I want to do in the community to help give back. I need to do a lot more. Yeah. So it was take the gamble and run. Let's see what we can do.
Well, and speaking of, taking that gamble, is there any risks that you can share with us? And I think it's the general audience, let's say for listeners of the podcast, anywhere from like 25 to 40, right? So anywhere in that range of looking to start their own business are probably thinking, gosh, a lot of fear in terms of what could happen. Can you share with us your experience about what maybe were some of your biggest risks with launching your own business and what kind of kept you grounded, and so to speak, during those years? Yeah.
It makes me feel old when you say 40's old, but that's okay. I mean,
I didn't say old. I said the range. Right. Yeah.
We all know. I mean, money, financial uncertainty. You go from having a steady corporate paycheck to not knowing where your next dollar is coming from or how you're going to cover bills. That's definitely a massive leap. You learn that it's all on you. Nobody really cares if you eat. Nobody really cares. It's on you to go out and figure it out. So you got to make it work. And then another thing is more of a petty risk. It's kind of carrying all the weight of, did you do it? You said you were going to do it. You know, most people don't want to take the risk because of failure, and that's a hard thing to do. You don't want to be your family, oh, you failed, or your friends, oh, you failed. So you don't want things to look like they don't pan out, so that kind of gives you an extra drive. You know, there's also that second thing, the more petty risk, you might call it, carrying the weight of what others might think. The fear that, you know, your family, your friends, or yourself, you might see yourself as a failure if things don't pan out. But what kept me grounded during that leap was my determination for success, and honestly, a strong desire not to fail. The drive to prove to myself that not necessarily to be the best at every single thing, but to be good at everything that truly matters to me in the business, and that was a powerful motivator. The unwillingness to accept failure is what pushes me towards, or pushes me through the uncertainty, I guess, and learning to accept those failures as I learn and then retry. And right now I'm learning and leaning back on my faith kind of as assistance in that as we grow. Yeah. So kind of helps tie it all together, or give me a place to reach out for help.
Yeah, certainly. I can imagine there's probably different points of your journey. And I would imagine anybody who started their own company that's listening to this episode right now can, you know, relate to everything you're saying and say, yep, that's true. Yep, that's true. And so I appreciate you sharing that, because there's also others who are listening to this and they're in those beginning stages of starting their own business and pursuing that as well. You know, so people are hearing, you know, Longnecker DataCom, maybe for the first time, maybe not, as they're listening to this episode and learning more about you and you know, who you are. You know, what is it about your company that it sets you apart in your industry? And it seems like it's an industry that can always be evolving, right? I mean, there's always technologies constantly changing. So what kind of sets you apart from what you guys do?
Humbly, my own experience. Over 20 years in the industry, I've had the opportunity to work with a wide range of clients, from small businesses all the way up to Fortune 500 companies and large corporations. I think the breadth of the wealth of experience gives us a deep understanding of the diverse needs and challenges different businesses face. Secondly, we strategically partner with some of the worldwide technology leaders in our industry. Companies like Sandler Partners, TPX, Cisco, I'm sure you've heard of, on the telecommunications side, and Uniview and Titanium on the surveillance side. These partnerships ensure that we're not just offering solutions, but offering leading-edge, reliable technology. And finally, we are absolutely committed to continuous learning. We prioritize staying up to date on our industry knowledge and technical training. So I think the combination of extensive experience across the different businesses and our partnerships, as well as a dedication to staying up on all the expertise and knowledge of, like you said, the ever-changing technologies, helps us set us apart, I guess.
Well,
at least an A for effort, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I like how you started off by saying humbly, my own experience, but it's so true. I mean, it's, yes, humbly, but also, yes, that is a difference maker, is your experience and your expertise in this field. You became an expert, and you know which companies, like you just listed, to partner with for the benefit of your clients, right? And I think at the end of the day, your job as a business owner is to serve your clients and to provide them with a great service so they continue to do business with you, and that you know, you continue to be able to serve them and do well. So all that ties into things that can, you know, lead to your success.
And that's the fine line that, you know, we walk, is being humble, but also, you know, this is the way I've seen it 100 times, you know, but gracefully, which, you know, it's a hard thing to do sometimes, but grace.
That's right. Yeah. We all need that. Mm-hmm. Speaking of grace, you know, my next question, that leads up good. You know, when you look back on, you know, starting, you know, the company, were there any early mistakes that you made when starting the business that you wouldn't mind sharing, that any of us can learn from? You know, you don't have to share them all, but if there's anyone that really, you know, you feel comfortable telling us about.
So like as we kind of got to with when you're talking about the logo, like I founded Longnecker DataCom, so I made every mistake in the book, unlike inheriting or buying a business that's already got an existing operation. I had to figure everything out. So we're starting year 5, so obviously I got something right. But for me, mistakes are the best way to learn. I'm the type of person who needs to literally bounce my head off the wall and do something wrong multiple times, probably 9 times. But I'll figure it out on the 10th, and once I do, I'll probably be better than most at it. But it's making those common mistakes for the strategic and super important aspects of the business. So yeah, there were early mistakes and probably ongoing ones, but the key is not to be discouraged by them. You have to learn a lot from them, adapt, and keep trying. Secondly, I made sure to reach out to experts. For instance, I ensured I had proper accounting from the beginning to handle all of the money correctly. And even before that, I made sure to have a lawyer who's actually my classmate, Mr. Adam Williams. Adam is doing incredibly well right now and founded one of the fastest growing law firms in the country. So while you learn a lot through trial and error, knowing when to seek professional guidance in the critical areas that you're not good at and looking up to people that have already done that is what I can say.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the things that I've shared with people, the idea of mentorship, which I know you're talking about professional advice as an accountant and a lawyer, and that all is absolutes. We should seek professional guidance from people like that. And it also ties in with the idea of, the mentorship aspect where they can guide you and direct you on that. So, people who are listening, I would suggest finding somebody who's a little bit further down the road than you and asking for their expertise in a certain area, as you just mentioned you did with Adam. And
most are willing to talk.
Yeah. Right. That's funny. And it seems like with an industry like yours, some people would find it tough to balance the technical aspect of the work you do with the balance of the human side of being able to be a leader of a business, being able to have communications, with clients. And I could see how some people maybe couldn't start a business because they wouldn't be as well on acquiring clients because they're really good technically, but not as well in terms of working with customers. Or vice versa. They feel like they could work with customers, but they don't have an expertise in one field to do that. How do you find your ability to balance the two?
You nailed it. Especially in the tech world, it's either one or the other, so it is hard. But I think I'm fortunate enough to have a strong human side and good communication skills, what some might call people skills. It kind of allows me to read the room or judge different situations, which is incredibly valuable, especially in sales or service-oriented businesses. You don't necessarily want to judge every book by its cover, but having the ability to get the sense of someone, it helps build rapport. The technology we deal with is sometimes overwhelming, like you said, to the clients who don't fully understand from the jargon to the actual function of what the devices and systems do.
Yeah.
So my goal is to take that complex technology and translate it into layman's terms, make it understandable, less intimidating for the business owners. It's through this clear, human-centered explanation and communication that I think I can build trust.
Yeah.
Ultimately, while the technology is critical, it's the human connection, the ability to communicate effectively, and the trust that we build with the clients that truly allows us to lead and provide them with the right solutions.
There's a little side note to that too. Did you ever watch The Office?
Love The Office.
So there's the episode where there was a surplus, and remember Oscar comes into Michael Scott's office and he's explaining it to him, and Michael Scott looks up and he's like, "Can you explain this to me like I'm 5?"
Yes.
So when you're talking about this, that's exactly what I'm thinking, because I would be the person that I would need you to dumb it down for me in terms of the technical aspect of what you're telling me.
Or even just what, I noticed that in the beginning where I think I understand it or I think it's dumbed down, but then some people are like, what does your company even do? Like, well, you didn't look at the website? Well, what
did you not hear the beautiful bio Jimmy just read?
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, it's being able to, what actually does he do inside the business that helps us?
Yeah.
Yes, it's getting that across.
Yes, exactly. Agree. Yeah. No, and it's definitely, there's always kind of like the mission statement, right? Here's what we do. But then when you get a chance to have a one-on-one with a client, you can fully share. Here's what services we offer. Here's how we can benefit your business.
Yep.
And in terms of that, one of the things that is that you handle is cybersecurity, right? That's an area.
A lot of surveillance.
Yeah, things like that. And during this time, there's so many different cybersecurity and surveillance issues, things going on for people that it's on the top of mind, I'm sure, for a lot of business owners, a lot of just households in general. So, how do you kind of help advise clients on that risk in terms of what they can do to help prevent those threats?
So the network's not going away. I remember 20 years ago, people saying, oh no, Wi-Fi's coming out and you're a structured cabling guy, network infrastructure installer. You're not going to have any wires to... Well, the end user, yes, the end user gets to use their wireless device, but all of that infrastructure needs wires to run it. So we're just growing in that direction. We continue to grow. So literally every single device in our business is going to be an IoT device. So everything is on the network and we got to protect it. So I think the challenge extends beyond just the cybersecurity aspect to the entire technology aspect of the businesses. So a lot of founders or owners or IT managers, they look at their servers, the wiring, their overall infrastructure, and it's like an archaeological dig site. Cobwebs everywhere, wires twisted everywhere. They don't fully understand what anything does, let alone how to implement necessarily upgrades or new technology, including security measures. So the way I look at it, we approach it as help them understand their current environment. So we want to kind of rip that Band-Aid off slowly a little bit, go in, figure everything out for them, and take the steps to bring their communications and infrastructure up to industry standards. So we'll create a process for them so they can see and understand their systems, and then once they have a clear picture and understand what everything is doing, they then can feel empowered and make informed decisions about managing them at that point, how they want to implement their upgrades and take action to mitigate the risks. It's about making the complex understandable and building that foundational knowledge so they can actively participate in securing their own business. Because, like you were saying, as a business owner, no one wants to give that power away. So it's more fear-driven a lot of times, where it's working, don't touch it. And they don't understand that eventually it's going to be a huge headache if they don't get ahead of it beforehand.
Right. And being able to have somebody like yourselves who... You're an expert in this, the best ways to protect people from different threats like this.
And if there's different services, whether it's a managed service or something that we might not handle, we have the local partners and different contacts to bring in or help point you in the right direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. I can see how that'd be very beneficial for someone to kind of put them at ease a little bit and let them know, don't worry, we got you taken care of. We'll get everything resolved, or we'll get everything.
I know what all those wires do, or I can figure it out.
That is funny. Yeah. There's so many different times you just come across a big thing of wires, like, I don't know who did this, why they did that, I'm just going to leave that there.
Everybody just keeps adding. The next tech that comes in sets another device on top and plugs it in and walks away. Is it working?
Right.
All right, back out of the room and turn the lights off. That's how it goes.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sure you've seen plenty of those.
Lots of it. Keeps us busy.
That's right, yeah.
Job security.
That's right. I keep alluding to our listeners. Let's say somebody's on this episode and they're thinking about starting their own business or, launching something of their own. They have a drive, they want to be able to do that. What advice would you give to them? Just kind of based on what you've been able to experience, what's something you would kind of say, if I was sitting here saying, I don't know even how to start or where to begin, what would you say to them?
I'd at least say go for it and start working it out. But you got to do your homework. And you need to have the right support in place from the gate. So I'd say the first and most critical step would be a lawyer that you trust. They're essential for figuring out your business structure, whether it's an LLC or a corporation, handling trademarks if you need them, getting all your initial contracts in place so you don't get burnt. This legal foundation is non-negotiable the way I look at it. Second, you immediately need to get a good accountant. Everything in business involves money, and every single dollar has to be accounted for properly. And this isn't just about knowing your financials. It's for taxes, staying compliant, and we all don't want issues with the government.
Definitely not.
When you think you're doing okay, the tax man comes. So third, I would always have an extra set of money laying around for the tax man, because every time you think you're doing well or stuff's going right, the tax man has his hand out. Oh yeah, you're doing right. I need my 30%. So,
darn.
Yes. So lawyer first, accountant second, and always be prepared for taxes. But go for it.
Yes, love that. As you said earlier in the episode, talking about determination, perseverance, those are elements that allow us to strive towards success. And then those are some of the technical ways that we need to make sure we cover ourselves too when starting a business of our own. So, I mean, I guess, kind of a broader question for you as we start to wind down on, this episode. But at this stage of your career, how would you say you define success? Not just in your business, but kind of like your life's perspective of what does success mean to you?
So that changes. So what I might have thought was successful even just a year or two ago, or certainly earlier in my career, it might have looked like having a certain car like an F-350 or a Lamborghini, but that's all changed now. At this stage, I define success both in business and in life overall is by whether I'm putting something out into the world that truly makes it a better place. So I think success is about being generally happy with that output and the outcome of the work that we do. It's about being able to go to sleep at night with a good, clear conscience, knowing that we're doing our best to be good people and contributing a positive change in this world. That's the way I look at it. I think you should always be striving to change the world positively. If you have an expertise, a service, or a product that can genuinely help other people, and you're constantly making a good, ethical, and moral decisions providing that service, I think that's what defines success. It's less about material achievements and more about positive impact, integrity, and now inner peace. Quiet soul.
I tell you what, if all of us could just strive towards that every day, we'd all be a lot happier right there.
Amen. Yes, sir.
But I love that definition that you've been able to formulate on success, because I think it's something that, regardless of where we're at in life, whether you're home with your kids, or you're in your place of employment, or you're at your own business, or you're just out doing a recreational activity, anytime we're striving for the things that you just mentioned, being able to make those good decisions and being able to just build upon something of value to give to others and share with the world. It makes your happiness better, and it makes the world a better place. It's not trying to sound too cheesy, but
no, I mean, it's as simple as letting somebody out in traffic. We don't ever want to. We want to cut them off, and we're in a rat race too. But once in a while, you
slow down a little bit and have that inner peace. Be able to fill your soul. Yeah. That's good stuff. Well, I got one more question for you, if you got the time. Okay. All right. So this is a fun one. I try to ask all of the guests that come on. It's neat to see everyone's different perspectives on it. But if you could go back in time, all right, next year, actually, 2026 will be 25 years for you. Not to make you sound old, but just want to throw that out there for you.
Yes.
But if you could go back in time to June 2021 or 2001. And be the speaker at your class graduation. But knowing what you know now, what maybe would it be that you share with your classmates at that time?
Well, I'd probably start by saying I was exactly in their shoes once, because I was. And I would probably be laughing with them at myself, because that's all we did was make fun of people. And I'd acknowledge that they're going to laugh and make fun of things and most things, and that's okay. And they should absolutely continue to enjoy and live life as young men and now women, embracing all the joys that come with this time. But I'd also emphasize that even while they're laughing and having fun, they should make a conscious effort to take everything in. Remember everything. Remember your classmates, your teachers, the big moments, the sports games, the opportunities you have here, and especially the relationships that you're building for the future. All of these experiences over time build into a bank of memories, and it's foundational experiences that you can rely on later in life. Especially, I touch on things like faith and religion, where I felt I was being forced to go to church when I was younger, or confession. Things that we might feel like we don't want to do at the time or at your age. But I urge you, keep that base, that foundation of faith, because later in life, it truly does come back around. It's crazy how life works in full circles. You do turn into your parents.
just like the commercials on TV.
Yep.
There are certainly things I'd say now at 42 that my 18-year-old self would have laughed at, but that's just part of the journey. So enjoy it all, learn from it all, and hold on to these connections and that foundation that you're building.
Man, I tell you what, I feel ready to run through a brick wall right
Let's
now.
do it.
That's awesome.
Let's do it.
That's great. That's
Mishler's
good
back.
Yeah, that's right. Mishler's back.
Let's go.
Everything's right with the world. We're on track.
I'm sure the hockey team would like to replay the state championship game. I'd like to replay a couple Penguins Cup finals, so let's go.
Let's go. Let's all suit up and let's get back out there. That's funny. If only, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, truly, I appreciate you taking the time, Dan, to make a stop on your way into your office instead of just driving by today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, coming on
in.
in.
You do great work here. What you do is not easy. Talking and having guests that, sometimes you're meeting for the first time is not an easy thing. So I respect everything that you do.
No. I mean, I appreciate it. It's been fun to connect with alumni from Prep and Villa and to hear about their journey and to share in those experiences. And it's like, as you know, with the Prep and Villa community, you just start talking to somebody within 5 minutes, you already have 10 people that you both mutually know. So, no, I appreciate the kind words, though. I really do. And again, thank you for the time. Everything you shared on this episode has been awesome. And I know our listeners are going to get a lot of value from it. So, thanks again for coming on, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mary Queen of Prep.
Pray for us.